What's up? Welcome back to German Chocolate Life of a Mixed Girl. I'm Jessica Vivian, aka German Chocolate, and I am super excited. I know I'm always like uber, super extra everything, but that's why my best friend always called me Hollywood. But I am super excited to have this girl talk today because today I have Yasmeen Ansari-Roberts with me, the One Voice winner in the category Best Factual. Just recently happened, so congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
she was just a guest on another podcast, Voices of Change, which was so cool because when I listened to it, I was like, yeah, yeah, me and her got way more in common than I already thought. So this is gonna be fun. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Jess. I'm so psyched to be here.
Well, so I usually I don't even drink coffee in the morning, but I had this from yesterday. So right now, it's 8:30 in the morning in Florida. What time is it where you are?
It is 1:30. 1:36 to be precise. Yeah, because I'm in England.
Yes, that is super exciting to go across the continent, all the things we can do now virtually.
I know. I know. It's amazing.
Well, one funny, oh my God, my mic. I turned my game off. One funny thing, I listened to the podcast and you were saying you're also for a singer first,
Yeah.
which is for me as well. And you said Ariel part of your world was like your jam. And the
Yep.
funniest thing is because just hours before I listened to the podcast, I had posted
I
the
saw it.
video singing the cover of it. And now I'm like, oh my gosh. So legit
And
part of
just for background, just for everyone, the post she's referring to, you were in your booth and you were talking about when you first start out in VO and you're like, look at this stuff. And I was just like, why is that so appropriate? I was
and
like, that's so amazingly appropriate
it
too.
was always just like so cute. And then I didn't realize over like a while, whenever I was singing it, I kept on thinking why this song feels so much more. I just want to be part of everyone. But then I made it, try to make it a little funnier, like even more like the one. I didn't post it yet. I have to post it after. The third one is more comically like you first meet the casting directors and then other fellow actors, and then you're like, where can I get a demo? Where do I take classes? So all of the questions you have
Yeah, yeah,
that Ariel wants
absolutely.
to ask.
Oh my gosh. Ariel is all of us. We are all Ariel.
We are all Ariel, ever so curious and love to sing and be part of this world.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, for
mine was
sure.
always a whole new world. Like
Jasmine, yes, Jasmine in Aladdin. That was my second favorite. And that was my second favorite because of, was it, I want to say, was it Vanessa Williams?
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Like I was like, I love her voice. So that, yeah, that was like my jam part two.
Yeah, it was like my favorite song in the sense where when I was pregnant with my son, I would sing it to him all the time in my belly
Oh,
when he
that's
was
so
little.
sweet. Oh my
Speaking
gosh.
of, did you see the new Ariel movie yet?
I haven't. I have not because I have five boys.
Which,
And I need to like make a play. I need to make a date with my daughter so that we can go and see it because everyone else is like, I don't want to see that. I don't care.
well, that's funny. How old's your daughter?
She's turning 5 next month.
So it's like a cute age.
Yeah.
Like depending on, I didn't see how long the movie was. It might be one of those. I saw a funny TikTok by the mom was like, "You're not drinking before, after, or during, because we're not going to take a bathroom break during this movie. So not eating or drinking, so you don't have to go to the
Yeah.
bathroom."
No
But I have the
snacks.
same dilemma. I wish we could go together because. I mean, my son would watch it with me. He's like, "All right, I'll go with you." He's like so sweet. Always like, he's like, "If you want to do it, I'll do it." But I don't want to sit him through it, so I'm debating too. I was
Yeah.
like, I have a son.
Just go with some girlfriends. I'll probably end up doing that, like planning with some other friends, and taking like a group of them, you know?
Yeah. How long have you lived where you live now?
So I've been in England for 6.5 years, and specifically where we are now, we moved to Loughborough. We've been here for like three of those years, 3.5 years.
Did you find it easy to
Um,
make friends in that time?
no, no, no. I, I feel like I feel like being an American in the West, outside of America, I should say, is a little tricky unless you're already a part of like like another American clique or group. Like you have to, it feels like Americans survive outside of America when they like latch on to other Americans and then they have a support group. Whereas for me, I feel like growing up in the Middle East, not having that much time in the States, being very like already international, um, like I'm a very confusing person. I'm at a lot of intersections. I don't tick a lot of clear boxes. So coming
Which
over
is
to
why I
England,
needed to have you on here because I love
yes.
sharing it because I think we all always feel alone and weird in that sense.
Yeah, so it's so hard to slot in. Like you always feel a bit where's my group? Where are my people? So it's really weird for me. Like even being an American, when I see other Americans out in the wild, I'm always scared. I'm never like, hey, what's up? I just, there's always like a bit of like, oh, will they see me as being American too? Will I be accepted? So
Well, in
yeah.
that sense, it's funny that you say it because people are just happy to see someone else that's like them, which in America, you would never be like, yo, what's up? We have the same, we're from New York or whatever. Because I'm from Germany originally. I grew up there 19 years. I moved here. I spent my summers here, a lot of them. But when I went back when my son was a baby and I worked for a very German company. So I was like, okay. And all of a sudden, I was this American around a bunch of Germans. I just couldn't help it. My energy was just so different. I'm like, oh, I like your shirt. And they were like, and this one girl came to me because she always dressed nice. And she came to me one day. She's like, I just have to say, it's like so nice that you like know this because people don't say that. Like,
Yeah.
I like your shirt or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's always like that. And then we had a intern from America come in and in a meeting, they're always like, very, let's get to the point, whatever. And we were waiting for someone. All of a sudden, oh my God, did you like whatever? And so and so. And I was like, oh my gosh, Americans. And then the one guy, the German, was sitting there like, where am I right now?
Yeah. Was this American takeover happening?
And it then sounds so typical, exactly what
Yeah.
people think Americans are. Obviously, it's not always like that. But,
Yeah.
but I live in Florida right now, and that's even hard. Like I'm mixed, but in I watched some stuff and they like a comedy, and there was this like mixed documentary on HBO. And when you're in California, which where you're from, if you're brown, you're just mixed.
Yeah.
But in Florida, if you look like me, you have to be Spanish and probably don't speak any English. So that what makes it hard for me. I go somewhere to automatically think I'm Spanish, and I
Yeah.
don't fit in anywhere. So I don't really know anyone.
Yeah.
Which is why I was like, so cool. You lived here for a few years and you got your clique together.
Yeah. So what is your background then? You
My
said you're
mom's
mixed.
German and my dad's African American. My dad's from Philly, and
Okay.
I didn't grow up with him, but so I'm should be. I am more German in like the anal sense of like perfectionism, organized. Don't go into my parking spot.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
But
I
what about
love the
you?
German I love the German like sort of like structure. Things are like very like we have like this is the way.
It is the way. We should
Um
have been in Star Wars. I don't know
yeah.
why.
So yeah. So I'm not mixed though on the other hand. My mother is very fair. My mother's just a very light-skinned black woman. And my father, who's darker, also doesn't have like traditional black features, even though he's also fully black. I think someone in his family, you know, get going back through your ancestry in the United States, you'll always find, you know, a white relative or I think he's got some Native American blood on his side of the family. So my dad's complexion is more reddish.
Ah, yeah.
So he could also look Hispanic. He could also be Arab. He just kind of has like that more reddish tone than he does like, you know, right out brown, I guess you could say. So yeah, but on both sides of my family, both my parents are black. But I think just growing up outside of the US has also kind of just complicated things for me ethnically that, you know, I was just raised in a very, very international mixed community. Um,
What
so
did
I
that
think,
look like? Like your schooling, like where you went, there were people from everywhere?
yeah, I went to a private all-girls school. And the school had an English section and an Arabic section. So I was in the English section. and our curriculum was British. So we had a lot of British teachers, a lot of Scottish, Irish, English teachers. Um, so it was great. And then the students were from everywhere, a lot of Asians, a lot of Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Indian, and then we had Egyptians and we had Sudanese and just, you know, girls from all over the place. So my friends were just a very, very wide array of just all different, cultures and languages and backgrounds.
Which is funny that you say that because people wouldn't think that. Like, first of all, looking at me thinking that I'm German. But when I went to school, and I went to a few different schools in where I lived in the town in Germany, but especially one of them, like depending on which areas of the city you live, I'm a city girl. um, the schools were the people I went to school with were Italian, Turkish, Syrian, from Iran. They were Russian,
Yeah.
really everything. There weren't even that many like Germans. Like the ratio of Germans was bigger than not. So I think um, what a lot of people usually experience when they're like, well, I don't fit in. Like people didn't fit in anywhere. We were just really like
Yeah.
what it should have been in America, like a real
Yeah.
melting pot. We were all just
Yeah.
hanging out. We didn't know any better.
Yeah.
My mom is white. I
Yeah.
never thought like that's so weird. Why is my
Yeah.
skin color different than my mom's? Because it
That's
was
the
just everyone's
thing.
different.
When you're raised in like a true melting pot, you don't question race. You just
Yeah.
don't because you're not forced to. And I feel like had I been raised in America, then I probably would be more black,
Hmm.
air quotes, because you're kind of forced to conform to that in order to fit in, to be accepted, and that's like what's expected of you. So it's almost like as a social experiment, like in the absence of you being forced to conform to a certain way, like everybody is just you just are. You're just
Yep.
being you. And so further down the road, I would have people say things to me like, "You talk like a white girl." And I would just be like, "What does that even mean?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was saying, I don't know if I said in the last podcast, but I had a Sudanese friend who back in the day, when Tupac and Biggie were a thing, and he was from Sudan, and he used to try and talk like he was, Black American, and he was the one that made the comment, "You talk like a white girl," and I was like, "You're from Sudan. Who do you talk like?"
And
You
it's
know what I
again
mean?
so funny. That was so similar to in Germany when that whole like hip hop era was big, and it was mainly a lot of Russians. They were more like it. I don't know why, and they would wear all the baggy pants and be like, "Yo, whatever, whatever." And it's interesting because my boyfriend, for example, he's white, and but he grew up around a lot of black and Latinos or whatever. So the first time I heard his voice, I listened to a podcast he had because we met on Bumble. So I listened and I was like, huh, he doesn't sound typically white, but then he would say, yeah, that happens a lot. He doesn't sound like that. What's weird, if you grow up around a certain like culture or how people speak, that's just what
Yeah,
it is like with Carlton, like
yeah.
from the
It's
Fresh
what you
Prince.
adopt. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's just so it's not offensive or putting it on or
Yeah,
pretending to be something you're not. That's just
yeah,
how you grew up.
yeah. It's not through any fault of your own, and that's the thing. Like even with languages, and I think like as a precursor to even coming into voiceover, I had such a love for languages and accents
Hmm.
and the way that people spoke. And so whenever I met somebody who spoke a different language, I would always ask them to teach me something like, tell me how you say this, tell me how you say that. And so I formed like this little, I don't know, what would you call it? What's the word for it? It's not a repertoire, but yeah, like
What?
I had like this little cache of like languages and different phrases and stuff from different languages. And I was particularly fascinated with German and Italian. I was like I'm going to teach myself German. And I had a German Syrian friend in school. And so I had like one of those pocket dictionaries with the English, it was like an English German translation.
Aw.
And then I would like learn. So I went through all the Uber words. I was like, I want to know all the Uber. So I was like, Überfahren, Überempfindlichkeit, Übermensch, whatever.
Very
So
interesting.
and then I moved on to like, oh, how do you say this and how do you say that? And then like the Haribo song in German, Haribo
Haribo
machen
Kinder
davor
froh
und
und
Erwachsene
Erwachsene ebenso.
ebenso. And I don't know why. I don't know why. Like I think I've only flown through Germany a couple of times. I've never actually visited, but I was fascinated with it and I loved Andrea Bocelli, and so I try to
I love Andrea
memorize
Bocelli. Are you talking about the song where the German girl's singing with him? Vivo Pele? That's my
Vivo
favorite
Parle,
song.
yeah. So I used to memorize those, and then I would try to break it down, and I would try to pretend like I knew Italian because I could say these like long phrases from his song. So I bought an Italian dictionary, an English Italian translated dictionary, and so that's just how I operated. I loved soaking up culture and language, and being exposed to it, I think really greatly has helped me, funnily enough, in my career today. Like it's just
Yeah.
it's almost like it's just second nature is built into me. So if you throw a language at me or you say, can you do this accent or can you adopt this? I feel like, oh yeah, sure. Because my ear has already been adapted to not just one way. You know what I mean?
Not me at all. They told me when I had to pick what I wanted to be, and all I ever wanted to be was in the entertainment industry, more like singing and stuff like that. So I was like, I don't know, I guess I have to grow up. And then this guidance counselor was like, well, you're bilingual, so I mean, it's easy for you to learn languages. And by the way, that is not true.
Yeah.
Just because you
Yeah.
grow up learning a language or two doesn't mean you're good at it. And I am
Yeah.
not. I am definitely not, but I went to school for foreign language correspondence, English, German, Spanish,
Okay.
and I made it through. And I can like read Spanish and like understand stuff still, but I definitely can't speak it. And then I thought, you know what? I'll take Italian as like a minor, and it's so different from Spanish. The
Yeah.
teacher would get so annoyed with like the French and
Yeah.
the Spanish majors because she's like, no, it's
Yeah. Or you're
completely
you're, you're
different.
speaking you're speaking Italian with like a Spanish accent. Like saying it like in yeah.
So that definitely was not me. My fascination has always been around the behavior and personalities. So yours it's so funny, like the languages and the accents and how it sounds, and then a cultural aspect, I guess. And mine's like, why does someone behave that way, good or bad
Yeah.
behavior? Which is why I studied
Yeah.
psychology.
Yeah, yeah, no, same, same. My friend's mom was a psychiatrist, and so I used to borrow her books, and she would just give me like books, and I would literally sit there in my bedroom and pour over them and read like all the case studies and go through the chapters, and I was just fascinated the same with understanding like why we do the things that we do. Or I would go through my family and I was like diagnosing family members. I was like, I think you have this.
And it's so easy too, because if
Yeah,
you
they
have the
stand out.
DSM-5, it's like
Yeah,
they're like you only have to have 3 to 5 of these like things, and you're like, oh, I
yeah,
think I have I'm schizophrenic.
yeah,
It's just
yeah,
like psh, it's so funny.
exactly.
There's one thing you said on the other podcast. I thought it was really hilarious because we already talked. Your background is singing, and you were saying how you would love to sing like jingles and stuff. Which for me, the same. Like just if I could be on the McDonald's, I'd just go ba da ba ba ba, like just that.
Exactly. And then you're like set for life. You're like, I
Set.
make money every time.
But the interesting thing was you said I used to like be called for every like family event or teacher event to saying like, hey Jessica, like sing something or whatever. And you said you'd get so nervous that you'd ask if you could like hide in the
Sing in the
closet.
closet.
And the pun to this is you're a voice actor. Where do we record stuff?
I know, I
In
know.
the closet.
This is the thing. Like, I kind of have this fantasy of performing on stage, like for theater. I think I like the idea of theater because you're drowned out by lights. You're
Hmm.
drowned out by the lights, and so you can't actually see your audience. You can just perform, and I feel like once I get over like my nerves and I start performing, I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's that having people staring back at you. And similarly with being on camera, I don't like the playback. I don't like seeing myself recorded. I don't. I'm like, why do I talk like that? Why does my face make that like, you know what I mean? Like, did I? I didn't know that I pulled that face when I say that certain thing or whatever. So, I feel like yeah, voiceover is like working on your own and in a booth and not having anybody like there to see your flaws or your mess ups. You know, you hit that backspace and delete button, and then you're like, it's
Unless
perfect
you have the
now.
client directed sessions, I
Yeah,
swear.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like so nerve wracking. They're like called and there's like a Zoom on here and then you're there and then you just hope that connection holds. You hope the
yeah,
fan on the computer doesn't get loud so they don't judge you for the fan coming on.
yeah,
So
exactly.
one day I had like one of those like spray can, like the dust ones that get cold and I just kept on like spraying the thing so my computer doesn't get hot. I still need to figure out a way because
Oh
this
my
fan
gosh.
sometimes is real. I like self-directing as well. Like even when I did the live action dubbing, they would send the things and I'd have to um record it, lip sync it and send it in and then they would send feedback like, hey, this was a little mumbled or could you like laugh a little more here? And then you like adjust it and send it. And I was like, this is so nice. I want to do more of these.
Yeah, yeah. No, I do. I actually prefer live directed things because I feel like you know that the client's getting exactly what they want. And I
Oh,
love when
true.
they tell me, like, do that. And then they're like, yes. So it's like, great. I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like, you know what I mean? As
Well,
opposed to like
definitely
guessing.
like it. Yeah, guessing definitely not, but the anxiety levels
Yeah,
of maybe you won't hit it.
yeah.
That's it. Like I've also like knock on wood. It's always been good. They're always like, "Oh my God, you take direction so well," and then I'm like so relieved. But then I'm like, "Don't let it get in your head, because then maybe the next one you're gonna do is gonna suck because they just
Yeah.
complimented you."
Yeah, exactly. Never compliment me. It's like it all goes to pot.
Yeah, don't compliment me till the end. Don't do it.
I'm learning to drive at the moment. I don't have a driving license. And so every time I go out with my driving instructor, and I have like a good run, she was like, "Now that was perfect." And I'm like, "Watch me just go and mess
Yep.
it all up now." And literally without fail, every time I'll go around a roundabout because we have a billion roundabouts in England.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about Germany, but
Yeah,
it's
too.
like I'll go around a roundabout and I'm like, oh, wait, what? I just took the wrong exit. I went into the wrong lane. I didn't signal. She was like, what the hell was that? And I was just like, I don't know. You just don't compliment me. Like, just wait till the end of the lesson and then tell me I did great. Like, don't tell me in the middle of the lesson, like, that was really good. Cause I'm like, I don't know why. Like, it's all a
It's
mess
a
now.
mental thing. That's
Yeah.
why they also say that the same thing with kids. It's so interesting, like in a certain ways. Like don't just say like good or whatever. Like focus on what exactly, and
Yeah.
let it play out. And
Yeah.
one interesting fact too is like when you tell a kid like, hey, don't do that. And it's so funny because as adults, like it's the same. Then you keep on thinking about the thing you're not supposed to do.
Right.
Like
And then
don't
you
kick
do
the
it.
ball here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're like instead of saying like don't throw the ball against the swing, it's like hey, yeah, don't throw it there because they'll break. Go play over there. Give them like another option.
Oh my gosh. That is an entirely different podcast.
Well, you have a bunch of boys in the house, so
I just
to
sat
try.
down with my kids yesterday. We called a family meeting and I was like, let's like have this conversation about stop start behaviors. And I was like, everyone's going to go around the table and take a turn saying, like, name one thing that you think you can stop doing and one thing you think you can start doing. Like, that's really positive and constructive because it
Yes.
comes from you. And it's sort of like, you have to admit to your own sort of, shortcomings. Like, maybe I can stop doing this or I'll start cleaning my room or whatever. And everyone had to go around the table and pick one. Um, and literally, like the very next, not even the very next day, the same evening, it was like, okay, we're all going to start helping out and pitching in and helping towards cleaning up. And so I was like,
Hmm.
great. I was like, you're all get in the kitchen now and put those things away after dinner. And then I very comfortably, I had like this sense of like, this false sense of like, yes, I can go upstairs and put my feet up and watch TV and leave all of the dishes and they're going to handle it because we had this great talk. And the very next morning it was like the rice was left out overnight, uncovered, all the dirty plates are on the counter and I was like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I don't care. This positive parenting does not work.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean, and it's so much work in the sense that it's behavior change in the sense, right? Like they
Yeah.
do one thing, you want them to change behavior, but even for us, like if we want to lose weight or start a new routine, like learning an instrument or going to the gym, it's really one of those things where it takes at least 6 weeks, up to 3 months, even to really change
Yeah.
behavior, and it's always so fast to fall back into old habits because it's comfortable. So
Yeah.
you gotta, as a parent, pick your battles,
Yeah.
which you probably know best. You're just
Yeah.
like, where am I gonna fight and where am I not even putting the energy
Yeah.
into.
Yeah. Honestly. As I said, that's an entire, I could talk about that like all day long with you. I'd be like, and then there was this one time.
Oh my gosh, I can't
Yeah.
imagine. Maybe if you're ever thinking about making a podcast, like one of those like
I
crazy
know.
parenting ones, would be fun because I'm like a very honest person when I talk to other parents, especially
Yeah.
people that don't have kids yet or are thinking about it. I'm like, I
Yeah.
love my son, and everybody's always telling you all these wonderful things, but let me tell you all the things that are not, so you can make a real judgment call
Yeah. Yeah.
and know what to expect. Like even if you're still gonna have kids,
Yeah.
like your relationship probably will suffer. Like what do you need to do to, you know, be ready
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
get through this? And your life will literally never be the same. So
Yeah.
just be ready. Like I'm always the
Yeah.
one to just be like, these are the hard, cold facts nobody wants to talk about. We all just suffer in silence. So I was like, I don't
Yeah.
care if you think I sound horrible, but I just want you
Yeah.
to know somebody needs to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, honesty is amazing because I feel like there's so much about our lives that we try to just make beautiful on the
Yeah.
outside to the world. Like, our home's beautiful, our children are wonderful, my marriage is wonderful. Like, look at my job, look at my whatever.
Hmm.
And we attach so much shame to like showing the human side of ourselves. And I'm very much for like even in a business sense, I've had people advise me like, "Oh, your brand, your branding, your personal branding, you don't want to hurt your branding.
Hmm.
You don't want to hurt, what casting directors or potential clients are looking at." And I said, "Yes, there is a sense of that. True, you don't want to be reckless and you don't want to like sabotage your career by just coming out on the internet and saying whatever the hell you feel like saying or doing, but at the same time, I feel like you are a human being and I feel like there's nothing wrong with showing that side of you where there may be a struggle or you're going through ups and downs or you're going through a difficult period, and I feel like when we normalize that, then there
Yeah.
isn't so much pressure to always be like on your game or like I am perfect, I am perfect, I am perfect. And I feel like that's when people crumble, that's when people like burn out
And we
because
see
it's
it more.
impossible
I
to
like,
succeed.
for example, like with Vanessa Garcia, it's always like sometimes she's like, all right, I'm conquering this. And I'm like, I'm going to be a bad bee right now because I don't feel good, but I'm going to make it work. And it resonates with so many people. And it's freaking amazing. You need all kinds.
Yeah.
You need the people that show like the pretty things because sometimes you want to just see the pretty things. And then people that are like, I don't care what people think about me. That's what I'm going to show. I'm a Libra, so I'm always somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah,
So I'm
it's you
always
got to
like,
strike that balance. Yeah.
what's
Yeah,
your
I'm
zodiac sign, by the way?
Cancer. I was born July.
Ooh, your birthday coming up.
Yeah, I know.
Mm.
Don't worry, Facebook will let all you know.
I'm not on the Facebook a lot. I should go. I'm like I swear
I
some of
know.
my Facebook sometimes comes up. Ooh, you should check out. You have some notifications, and then I'm always like on
Yeah,
which of my like 5 accounts over the lifetime I've created.
I know. You know what's really funny about that is that I was before coming into VO, I was very anti social media. I was like, I don't want a social media account. I don't want to be on Instagram. Like, and the thing is, outside of having a career or having a purpose and a reason for being on Instagram, I found it very, like, it was just very draining for me. Like, I
Yeah,
didn't see any point to it. I was just like, why am I scrolling and wasting time and looking at things that I don't have, that I can't have? And
yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
Like it just felt like it just left me feeling very empty all the time. So I was like, forget that. Like, I'm not going to do that to myself. And so I had an Instagram account that was basically, just poetry and little quotes and things that I put up, and then it was just dead. I just left it dormant. So I wasn't
Yeah.
really using it. Same thing with Facebook. I think I had Facebook when it first came out. And then after some time, I was like, all right, same thing. Like,
I
nah,
boycotted the Facebook thing for a while
yeah,
because I was a MySpace person. I loved
yeah,
the whole fact with the kind of music on there and making your own. And Facebook
yeah,
just looked so boring. I was like, it's
yeah,
nothing. It's just like a bulletin board. I didn't get it, so I was
yeah,
never really much on it. Same thing when I'm in Germany. I wrote a song. I went to produce it, and then I like launched it on Spotify or whatever, released it, and I was like, okay, I guess I have an account. I was at the theater, and then so the news was always kind of around. It's like I have to like put the stuff somewhere. So I made a
Yeah.
page, but I'm so bad with it. Same thing. I struggle now, even like even though there's all of us and we're a community, and I'm always happy when I see what's going on in all of y'all's lives. I struggle to post. So you'll see me like for a few days, like post a whole bunch, and then
Yeah.
I'm like gone, ghost for like at least a week, and I'm freaking out. I was like, oh, I need to post something, but I don't know what. Like, what's interesting, what's not interesting. Do people
Yeah.
even care? What do I
Yeah.
do? I'm
I
not like
know.
social media savvy. If it wasn't for this industry, I wouldn't like keep up with it. So coffee is kicking in. You know, I don't. The reason why I don't really drink coffee in the morning is now as you get older, I get like jittery and stuff,
Yeah.
and I already have a lot of energy in the morning. So
Yeah.
when I drink this, I'm like have way too much energy, and then my afternoon crash is like hard. So I usually drink
Yeah.
coffee in the afternoon.
I love that. At least you wake up with energy. I'm old to the point where like I wake up and I'm like, why do I just want to go back to bed? Like even after eating, I'm just like, nope, I'm not there yet. Like it takes me so long to
My
get things
brain's
to
always
do.
full with like stuff I need to do. Like there is never like a day where it's easy to relax. I'm like, oh, I gotta do this, gotta do this, and here, and then oh my god, there's so much going on. Like that video I did with sleeping like a man. Even though I fall asleep easily,
Sleep like
that's
a man. I love it.
what it really just like, out. That's actually me. I like go to sleep, and people were like, how did you just lay down? And I was like,
Is that from is but you have a military background as well, don't you?
yeah.
Do you think you adapted that there?
I'm
Like
trying to think.
don't they do sleep training where they teach you how to like they do that like whole military thing where you
Well, they definitely teach you how to wake you up in the
have
middle of the night, and then you got to do
yeah.
guard duty and like trying to like on like minimum sleep for
Yeah. So
sure.
but I think that's where that comes from probably. That you're like, I am so tired, my head's hitting the pillow and I'm out.
Well, yeah,
Because you
actually,
trained yourself to have to like respond to, getting up and just being on the go.
yeah. There's, it's been a while. Like my son's 11 now, so like 12 years since I was in the military. But there's some things that are just you're just always a soldier. It's there whenever you meet
Yeah.
someone, is that connection, and some things just really always stick. And it's funny that you say that because when I was deployed, we were in the middle of nowhere, and I would remember like when you finally like go to sleep, um, and it was a shithole, and then you just hear and it became like one of those YouTube videos that you put on at night that have like rain sounds or whatever. It would just be like soothing. You're like, all right,
Are we
just go
talking
to
about
sleep.
gunfire?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Somewhere in the distance. Like I was like, all right, nobody's saying anything. So I was
Oh
like, maybe they're just training at night. Who knows?
my God. It would lull you to sleep. Oh my God, I love it. That's literally my worst nightmare. Like I can't even when I travel and I'm in different hotels, I get PTSD. I can't even imagine. Like you know what I mean? Like waking up in a different bed.
Yeah.
Like I will literally wake up hallucinating and I'm like, where am I? Am I in? And it takes me a while. Like my body doesn't adjust well to traveling. Like being especially if I'm in different locations back to back. I'm literally like, what bed am I in? Where am I? Where am I
Well, that
sleeping?
happens to me too when I sleep very like deep, or I'm like I have vivid dreams when I dream, so then I wake up confused anyway. So if I were to even sleep, let's say like where my feet are and wake up, I'd be like, where am I? So I get that, but it's funny because you get used to certain things. When I lived in Brooklyn, New York, it was loud all the time. The J train would go, then somebody would be yelling, and then there was music over here. It was always loud. And then I lived in this super tiny village in Germany, like afterwards, where you'd hear crickets, and then it's kind of like eerie. You're like, oh my
Yeah,
god, you
it's
hear
too
the wood
quiet.
cracking, and it was just not. It's so quiet.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Well, now I live in Florida, where the highest percentage of people is just old people, but it's getting there. It's getting popular. More people our age are like moving here and wanna have
Where are
fun,
you
so
in
it's nice.
Florida?
I'm in the Tampa Bay area on the
Oh,
Gulf
nice.
Coast,
Ooh,
so
pretty.
it
My
really is.
granddad lives in Fort Lauderdale near is that where is that not Formula One? Or is it, where is it? Is it NASCAR? The racetrack. Is that
I've
at?
I don't even know. But Fort Lauderdale, it's like more south. It's like, yeah, Miami on the other side of the coast, which it's also nice to be there on the beaches, but the water is really choppy. And what I don't like
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that side of the
Yeah,
beaches,
yeah.
they have like the jellyfish, and then I mean, there could be sharks anywhere, but more of that.
Yeah.
And then you sit there, and then like little crabbies come up from the sand. Oh my God, I don't like any critters and stuff. I shouldn't be in Florida technically because there's just so many critters and
Yeah.
things. Oh my God. I just flagged down the maintenance guy yesterday. He's like, here, this grass down here, it's like a snake nest. Like it's gonna be.
Oh
And like, I know
no.
for sure the way this looks. And yeah, like kids walked down yesterday, my boyfriend's daughter and my son to like walk to the store. And then my son goes, oh, I think I saw a snake. I was like, I knew it. I knew it. As soon as the grass
Yeah.
is just a little too high. And they all look the same, like the ones that are not venomous and the venomous. And they're like, well, if you look close and it has like a small line on
Yeah.
the head, I'm
You're
not
like,
going
I'm not
that
getting
close.
close. Exactly.
Mm. And then I was like, I know the other day it was my cat ran off and it was dark and I like touched the wood and something weird was there and I was like, probably nothing. But now I was like, ew, who knows what it was that I touched?
I love that you're like, ew, after the fact. Ew, what did I touch?
I'm telling you, these palmetto bugs, like the roaches, they like fly and they're
Yeah.
like everywhere and I don't know why they're just so disgusting. They look like they have like a armor and like muscles and then they got these
Yeah.
antennas and they're just so gross. The lizards are cute though. It's kind of like in Italy. They're just kind of like little
Yeah.
dinosaurs.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, let's not talk about roaches.
I like drop a book and leave it there until my boyfriend comes
Leave it
home.
forever.
Yeah, I
Just
was like,
it's just gotta stay there now.
it's gotta stay there. Not even the cat wants to mess with it. So.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
but one topic I thought was really interesting because everybody kind of says this, and I think when you don't talk about it a lot, people think they're like alone. And that's if you're not typical anything like Asian, Black, or whatever,
Yeah.
you go through some sort of identity crisis. So for
Yeah.
me in my teens, I was always kind of like one of the guys that was like, whatever, I didn't see anything. But then in my 20s, especially moving to the United States, like you said, like when you live in the United States, it's so different. And then you're like, oh my God, where do I belong? Not white, not black, whatever. What was it for you that created like a sense of identity crisis and what was that like?
Um, I think it was because, like I said, growing up in the Middle East, I never had to identify as anything other than just telling people I'm American. Um, and all my friends knew that I was an American, which was like, oh, cool, Americans. And so I never had to qualify anything. I mean, there's always the one, or two Arabs that you would meet that would be like, no, 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 no way are you American? Because they're like Americans are blonde, 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 blue eyes. They're like, where are you originally from? But that was just again, I think, just because of their own cultural, um, what's the word? Just exposure to what they saw on TV or
Well,
in the
that's
movies
funny
or
that
what
you
they
say it
believed.
because when I lived in the south of Germany, everybody knew if you were dark, you were American. But when I lived in the north later on, where the American troops didn't go there, it was more the Russians and the French and the British soldiers took over after World War II. Everybody thought I had to be African because they never seen an American before. So it's the same like what you're
Yeah.
exposed to, right?
Yeah, yeah. But other than that, like amongst my friends, you weren't really challenged on your race because everybody was from somewhere
Yeah.
different and everybody was, colored. Everybody was, a person of color to some extent.
No, so for you, it happened when
Um,
you came back to the
so
U.S.,
when I
right?
went back to the US, and then the other interesting thing is that when we left the States, we lived in Saudi for a solid 10-year block
Whoa.
before even going back to America, like not even on holiday, because this my mom working as an expat had this contract where part of her contract we would get tickets every summer to travel back home, or you could use your tickets up to the amount of money that your tickets home were. You could travel anywhere in the world. And so because we were from the States, her tickets home were
Mm-hmm.
high, right? The value
Yeah.
of those tickets was quite high. So we worked out like, hey, we could travel the world. We don't have to go back to the States necessarily. We could go on holiday here, we could go there. So we would do that instead. We traveled to Africa, we went to Kenya, we went to all different places. We would go to
Nice. So you had a
England.
real culture shock because a 10-year block. Are you an only child
So
or do you have siblings?
no, I am number four out of five. So I'm the youngest girl. And then I've got a brother who's the youngest, who's just below me. But no, I'm one of the youngest. Um, and so when I went back to the States, I went back in July 2001.
Ooh.
And that was my first time being back in the United States. So I returned to the States as I guess I was 20, um, 2 months before September 11th.
Yeah, that's what the first thing in my mind. I was like, oh.
Yeah, July 2001, I went to the US. And 2 months later, September 11th happened. And that was really hard because they didn't
How'd
have
you
the
do
answers
it?
to.
Like, what helped you, or was there like a person like that kind of helped
Um,
you?
no, because basically my parents dropped us off. I went with my brother, with an older brother, and my parents, we rented an apartment. We enrolled in school in the local community college. We actually went back to Palm Springs. So I went to, well, Palm Desert, Palm Springs, Palm Desert, if you know, for anyone who knows the area. Um, because my parents were afraid to send us to like a big city. They thought we'd be
Hmm.
swallowed up in a big city. So we grew up in Palm Springs and we had family that were still in the desert. So um, we enrolled in like the local community college, and that was it. They flew back to Saudi. Um, and so it was just really difficult, without spending a whole lot of time talking about it. It was really difficult just landing there and then suddenly going from spending all that time growing up in the Middle East, literally from the age of 10, and then being back in the US and being just a complete fish out of water. And
Hmm.
then 2 months later, September 11th happening, and everybody wanting to know, like, what are you? What are you?
Yeah.
And people kept asking me that. And I honestly didn't get it at first. I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, ethnicity. Like, what's your ethnicity? And I was like, are you black? Are you white? Are you Mexican? Because in Southern California, it's like those are the three categories. And they're like, are
Yeah.
you Mexican? And I was like, no. And they're like, are you Puerto Rican? And I was like, no. And they're like, are you? And I would literally get everything,
Well,
but
yeah.
I'm black. And so when I would say, well, I'm black, and they would like, no, you're not. And I'm like, yes, I am. Like, no, you're not.
Oh
And
my
I
God,
had those
questioning it.
conversations. I had those conversations so many times that I started to question it myself.
Hmm.
And then it wasn't just even what's your ethnicity. It's like, okay, but like, where are you originally from? Because you don't sound American. My accent was really messed up. My accent, because I had you know, kind of like went to a British school, so my spelling's always been different. I've always spelled things the British way.
Yeah.
Um, my accent was like just an amalgam of like Arab, Arab girl,
I can relate
American,
to that
British.
because I like you when I speak, I don't sound like a typical American, but I also don't have a German accent like how Germans sound. But so my boyfriends are like, "Oh, you have an accent." I was like, "I do, but it's like from nowhere because
Yeah.
I grew up
But
this
do people
bilingual."
ask you a lot? Like, where are you from? Do they ask you like if you're a
I
foreigner?
Oh, yeah, yeah, but mainly because how I look. As they're
Really?
like, "Where are you from? Like, what are you?" Before, when I first moved here when I was 19, I lived like in the panhandle of Florida, and it was like the ghetto. and, and they were like only like black people, like, and it was cool. They're like, "Ooh, look at the light skin, like yellow,
Yeah.
like whatever." And I
Yeah.
was like,
Hi,
"Ooh, that's
yellow.
nice." And then I moved to the Midwest to Detroit, and everyone's like your color to like black to like really light. Like they're all kinds of
Yeah.
colors, even though their parents are black, like what you were saying. Like your
Yeah.
mom's just really light skinned, your dad's kind of dark reddish. So then you're just black because everyone's just kind of light skinned in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And then in New York, nobody really cared because everybody was everything. But
Yeah.
then here now in Orlando and Tampa Bay, it's like you have to be a Puerto Rican or something else, and nothing else makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Because people would look at you and assume like they'd be like Panama, Puerto Rico, like
Yeah,
are you
Puerto
from one of
Rico
those?
fits most because I
Yeah,
mean they really look from like blonde blue eyes to like
yeah,
African looking, so
yeah,
they're everything. So if they don't know, you must be Puerto Rican.
yeah. Exactly, exactly. So after you go through that so many times, and I kind of went through a period, like I said, where I started to like answer the question with a question mark behind it, like
Hmm.
I'm American,
I
I'm
hear you.
black,
Because you
I'm
technically
like,
can't even identify as that because you like didn't grow up, but that's where you're technically from. So I always
yeah,
find that piece really hard too. So
yeah.
when you came back and you went to school, what did you go to school for?
Mass communications, because it was community college. I enrolled in mass communications, but what I really wanted to do was film and documentary at the
Mm.
time. Because I literally had dreams of when I was in Saudi as an American. As an American Muslim born to parents who converted, my parents converted in the 70s. My dad was Baptist, my mom was Episcopalian. My parents converted in the 70s. And then the rest of us, me and the rest of my siblings, were all born Muslim. So coming from that background and then growing up in the Middle East and then having the experience and the group of friends that I did, I wanted to make movies. I wanted to
Ooh.
document sort of other people who were like me because there were a few of us. There were a few of other American Muslims who are also living in the Middle East, who are living in Saudi that we grew up with, and we were very similar in that way. But it's not there weren't a whole bunch of us. It's
Yeah.
something that only we could relate to, having lived through that. And I
Which
was
is why
and
this
then
podcast is here for that too. Like, who can
Yeah, which
relate
is
to being different?
amazing. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to do going into college. I literally, again, going back to the whole thing about music and language, I don't know if I'm slightly autistic, to be honest with you, because the way that my mind worked, when I did listen to music, I didn't just listen to it as a bop. I would deconstruct the instruments, I would deconstruct the chorus line, I would deconstruct the tempo, I deconstruct the mood. I would literally see it in a like in a cinematic way.
Hmm.
I would envision an entire scene. So like a cinematographer or a filmmaker, I would have entire like an opening scene and here is it, the camera
Oh my
panning and
gosh.
this song. And so that's how I literally had written down like scores and soundtracks of my movie that I was going to make when I made it. Like
So what
that's how I
happened? What
functioned.
changed?
So what changed it was going to America. It actually it was kind of a sad story. It didn't work out for me. I I I faced so much discrimination. I was so isolated. I felt so lonely. I felt so confused. I actually ended up hospitalized twice. Because I was just not coping. I mean, even in my classes, my teachers were a little I don't want to say I don't want to say that there was any like I don't know if it was an intentional discrimination, but
Hmm.
I felt like I was treated differently than the rest of the class. I was looked at differently. I was graded differently. I was spoke down to. Um
What an
no one
adjustment.
no one really, like I said, no one bought that I was an American. So I even had like a college professor hold me back after a lesson and then say to me, sorry, I just want to say to you, like, your English is impeccable.
Oh my
Where are you
gosh.
from? And I was like, dude, I'm American. Like, this is getting so tired. It was really hard. It was really hard,
So unexpected in
and
that sense, especially California.
it was hard. I think being in the desert, being in Palm Desert, Palm Springs, it's I mean, if you've ever been down to the desert, it's beautiful, but it's very like, resorty, and you've got your golf courses and you've got Coachella and you've got the celebrities that go down
That's
there
what you
to
think first when you
vacation.
hear Palm Springs.
And it is. It's beautiful. It's amazing. You have all these little boutique hotels and spas, and the weather is great. But it's a very small town. Everybody who's there has grown up there, has lived there their whole lives. Um, and unless you have a lot of money and you've come from the outside and you've bought a home and or you're, a business person, whatever, I feel like coming to any small town as an outsider
Yeah.
is hard,
So
you know.
from there, did you move to England?
No, so basically what happened is I didn't graduate. I ended up not finishing and I went back to Saudi.
Huh.
Um, and my family that was there, my extended family, my mom's family particularly, who lived in Southern California that were helping me, they were disappointed as well because they felt like we tried to help you, we
Mm.
tried to help you, we tried to like liberate you, but it wasn't that simple. It wasn't like a clear cut like, you know what I mean? It was just it was hard. It was just really hard.
I mean, it's
And
hard
so
times and it takes so much to adjust anyways when you move somewhere, even if you used to live there. So I'm curious for going back if it was that way. Because I know when I went back to Germany, I had culture shock the minute I landed at the airport. I was like, oh my God, I was getting like half of a panic attack. And they say it
Yeah.
takes a good 12 months to adjust,
Yeah.
even if you grew up there, back to an environment. So if you move somewhere, hey, try to stick it out 12 months because that's how long it can take to
Yeah.
adjust.
Yeah.
So
The
was it
first year
hard
is
to
the
adjust
hardest.
there again too, or was
What,
it?
moving back to Saudi?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, definitely. I when I got back home, I think I sunk into like an even further depression because I felt like I failed. Like I
Mm-hmm.
didn't carry out what I went through to do. Like
Yeah.
if you've been listening to this podcast and you've heard the stories the things that I say about my ambitions and what I wanted to do in filmmaking and my vision for my movie and my film, I had crazy ambition. I literally had like in my mind my whole life mapped out. I knew exactly what I wanted to do and I was so eager to do it. But in reality, that whole thing of like, Pinterest versus reality. It was like it just didn't happen that way for me. It didn't happen that way. And I was devastated. I was
Yeah.
devastated that I basically was like flying back home to go back to living after, especially after being an adult, turning 20 in the United States. And I was going to college and I had a part-time job and I was making money and I was taking the bus home on my own and I was doing things. I was adulting
Yeah.
and then having to leave that and going back to like, okay, I'm back in Saudi now. I'm back at my parents' home. And I've left with nothing to show for it,
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
really
going back
hard.
is always the hardest. And
It
I mean,
was
it's
really hard.
interesting. When I moved to the US, I was 2 months away from turning 20. But where I'm from is very different from where you're from. For example, we get to drink alcohol at the age of 16, like wine and beer. And then at 18, you're a complete adult. Whatever you do, you're 100% adult. Not like in the
Yeah.
US, you're kind of at 18 an adult to pay taxes, work, and do all the
Yeah.
stuff. But with 21,
Not until you're
you get
21.
to drink. So
Yeah.
when I got here, I already was like over the alcohol thing. I might have a glass somewhere or use it for cooking, especially like when I'd make like sauces or whatever or bake. I need my amaretto or I need the red. And then to go to the store and I'm like, this is cooking wine. You mean I can't buy this cooking wine? Like that was really really hard. Or I like try to go to a club and my mom was with me actually because I heard Maya sing. I was like, oh my God, that's weird. She's in Detroit. We like try to go like it's 21 and up. My mom's like, but I'm with her. I'm her parent. He was like, I don't give a whatever. But in Germany, you can actually go to the club no matter like really how old you are. If your parents with you, they're responsible
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
mom would take me places. So that was so weird to me to come here. I was a full blown adult. I mean, I lived at my mom's too when I was in Germany, so I didn't know how to pay bills or anything yet. But I was treated as an adult, and to come to America and suddenly, no, no, you can't
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, like the cultural shifts. I mean, even living in England and then going back to the States for Sylvester when I went last December, um, I was like, you got cappuccino? And they're like, no, we have Americano. And I was like, you don't have cappuccino. Oh my God. I was like, why do I feel like such a snob? I was like, why is there no cappuccino here?
We feel the same way about like everything being in like plastic cups. You want to go to a cafe, you just want to sit with a nice ceramic cup and like sip it, yeah, cappuccino or a latte macchiato.
Yeah.
And then they don't like, I'm like, well, the naming of the drinks, I'm like, well, it's obvious. It's a latte, so it's milk. It's Italian. It literally means milk. I don't know. I
Yeah.
was like, so, and they were like, no. I was like, it's just so unsexy. It's just like here's a
Yeah.
cup with your coffee.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, I don't mean to say all of this to like, diss America. It's not a diss to America or Americans or the
Oh
American
no.
culture at all. It's just that living outside, being, what they call a third culture kid, and then having to adjust in any circumstance, I think is just really hard. For the rest of your life, you feel like you don't really know, you know, sort of who your people are. You know what I mean? Like, where do I slot in? And that's what's been the hardest for me is like, I grew up in the Middle East, but it's not my home. Like, I could live there my whole life and still not have any rights to even residency, permanent residency, let
Huh.
alone citizenship. Um, so there's like nothing to show for that either. So you leave and it's just sort of like, okay, bye, there's the door. Don't let it slam you in the butt on the way
Well,
out.
it's
And that's
also like
it.
a way of, they say this a lot, if you travel a lot or move a lot. Like, I've lived a bunch of different places and traveled, so you find all the little things you like about a place, but then when you finally get somewhere, there's always something you miss about another place. So it's really hard to ultimately be happy because you're like, oh, it's really nice here all year, but it's kind of humid. I kind of like it cold, but I don't really want like the ice. And then the people are kind of weird here, but here they're also weird, and it's
Yeah.
hard to find. I don't have a home either. Like if people are
Yeah.
like, "Where you're from?" I can say, "Okay, I'm from Germany. I was born and raised there." But nowhere's home. Like when I go home, it doesn't feel home at all. I
Oh,
left there.
really?
Yeah, yeah. They changed so much about it too. They had like this project to modernize the city, and it's a over 2,000-year-old city. So a lot of it's gone. Like some of like a place where I used to live doesn't exist anymore, and the streets are different.
Yeah.
Like nobody I know
I think
really
that's
lives
the
there anymore.
hardest when you go back to a place and so much has changed and you
Yeah.
don't recognize it and you feel like it's moved on without me. So it
Yeah.
feels like it's not, it doesn't belong to you anymore. I mean, that has happened in Saudi where literally the year that we left, they lifted the ban on women driving and then suddenly women were driving and I was like, are you kidding me? Like I still don't have a license. Like ever since I left, I've been trying to get driving lessons and there's been so many setbacks and then COVID hit and then they canceled all the driving lessons and then it's just been like stop start stop start. I think I failed once and trying to so yeah, there's a lot of change in the world
What
everywhere,
made you
but
realize in the sense that you're you and it's okay to be you? Like when, like at a certain age, did it suddenly hit, or was it like a gradual thing? Like I'm just me.
so going to America it was very cathartic. It was very life-changing, even though it didn't end the way that I wanted it to. It awoken a lot in me and it helped me to realize a lot about myself that I feel like living in Saudi didn't really provide for me. Um, it's kind of like if you've been looked after, if you've been helped your whole life, you don't know what to do when you have to stand on your own 2 feet, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so having to go through all of that in the States and having people ask me, what are you? Are you black? Are you white? Are you American? Are you this? Are you that? Hating me because I was Muslim. I was like, look, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be able to tick anybody's box to please them. I'm never going to be black enough. I'm never going to be American enough. I'm never going to be whatever enough.
Yeah.
Um, like, but I know that I'm Muslim and I know that I'm not a Muslim because my parents forced it on me. Like, I mean, if anything, I feel like, if it had to do with being forced, I probably wouldn't have stuck to it. For me,
Mm-hmm.
it was a conscious choice of like, no, this is me, this is my identity. I went through a lot, with the hospitalizations, with a lot of issues that I had returning back to Saudi and trying to find myself because, like I said, I came back angry. I came
I
back
can see that.
really, really upset. I came back like I tried and and still nothing worked out. And I kind of went, into like a really dark place where I almost lost myself. Like I almost literally
How many
almost
years
like
later was this?
this was probably 3 years after first going to the States.
Yeah, still really young, pent up, all kinds of
Yeah,
emotions.
a
But
lot of stuff happening in that span of time. I mean, September 11th was traumatic for all of America. So if you were there in that time and then to have to, you know, go through some of those things, I feel like it shapes you very quickly.
mhm.
Um, and so, I think for me coming out of that on the other side, I was just like, look, this is just me. And I have to try to do this in my own way. Like I'm Muslim in my own way. I am me in my own way. I'm an American in my
And
own
that's what
way.
made you you.
Um,
It gave you your niche in voice acting in that sense, like the type of work that you book,
yeah.
and things that's in there. So that's your niche. You're the Black international Muslim girl that brings the charm, the swag, the
Oh my
attitude, the
gosh.
calmness, like all of it.
Yeah.
So it shaped you.
Well,
So
I'm still trying to like pinpoint it. Like my branding is still like, what am I exactly?
it's so hard. It
Um,
really is. I keep on thinking about it too. I took a class business for voice actors where it really was about it. I mean, I taught a class on personal branding before myself after, I took a Google course and then I like kind of taught what I learned there, or like team building. And it seems simple when you teach it, but no matter how much you know yourself, like I'm very self-aware. I know myself too much, but it's still hard to pinpoint, especially in a world where you think you're unique, but then there's actually a whole bunch of people like
Yeah,
you.
exactly. Yeah.
So I'm really trying to be like, okay, what got me both of my agents was, oh my God, you're a native like speaker in German. We always kind of need that, somebody who doesn't have a accent when they speak German, like American with a German wait speaking German with an American accent, and then I can still sound very general American like I speak now. So
Yeah.
that was like where my agents were like, "All right, I'll put you on the roster. We'll need that." And then I learned at the conference in Atlanta that being a veteran is also really cool, especially for video games. And that's where I really, really want to get into. I just
Yeah.
love that side. I love all of the professions I was in, like police and soldier and like a flight attendant and all the things. But some of the things
It's
are not so
amazing.
glamorous, or it's like risky things, like being a police officer or going to war. But if you can take that and then just pretend to be it again in a safe environment, I'm yearning so much for the day I'm getting another audition,
You're
another
like, I want to go
chance to
back
be
into
it.
combat.
But only in the video game. Like I want to do
Yeah.
mocap and pcap to like pretend I'm there, and I want to
Yeah.
voice it, and I'm like, all right, let's go. Like I'm yearning.
Yeah.
That's like where I want to go. So I'm thinking military and German. That's just where I'm trying to push through, and then like
Yeah.
being person of color, like
Yeah.
getting all of the check.
I truly hope that happens for you because I feel like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do it. You with your background and with your knowledge, you bring that authenticity to the role that other people would have to try to imagine themselves. If I was put in a video game, with mocap and I had to play as a soldier, I'm drawing from something that I can't, I don't have a reference for. And so I have to rely on pure solid acting. Whereas for you, you just have to marry the two. My insecurities with my identity came out again with VO because it was like when it came to branding, like, who am I? I don't know who I am. I don't know how to market myself. I don't know what they want. I don't know what side of me that they want or what side is
Hmm.
is relevant. Um, and I would actually get casted by American casting directors, book the job, and while recording, they're like, "Yeah, you don't sound American enough." And I would actually lose after
Huh.
having booked it. They're like, "Yeah, we're gonna go with someone local." And it was like, "Yeah, your accent," and I'm like, "I don't feel like my accent has
What
a
were they looking
foreign
for? That's crazy.
quality." But I even when I was doing a trailer, like a trailer demo, and I had submitted it to somebody who was helping me and critiquing it for me, and I kept saying coming in spring. And they were like, "Can you soften your G's? Your G's are very hard. Americans don't say their G's that way." And I was like, "My G's?"
My
And they're
T's
like,
are apparently too strong.
yeah, even my T's, I've had like, manageability. Like, no, don't say manageability. I have to say manageability. And even now I'm like, manageability. No, that's British. Manageability. I'm like, it's so confusing. So I do get tongue-tied sometimes. I do have to kind of switch off and like find the compartment in my brain where I'm like, okay, how do I be American? And there's this one time where I was like, but I was so American. I know I sounded so American. I was as American as I could sound. And they're
Especially
like, yeah.
local. Like, what is a local American in the sense? Anyways, if
Well, not
anything, they're
one
like,
who lives in England, maybe. Not one who's overseas. But yeah, so with the whole G's, hard G's, they were like, no, Americans don't say their G's. We'll say coming, coming in spring,
hmm
not coming,
You should have
coming.
just been coming in spring.
Yeah,
Coming. Be like,
coming in spring, coming, not coming. But I was like, wow, my G's, like I would never have thought of that. But people are hearing that and people are picking it up. And so it again, I went through a period of like kind of, I don't want to say spiraling out. I didn't spiral, but it did kind of affect me again, where those, where I felt a little triggered, where those old feelings were coming up, where I was like, I don't fit in, like I'm not who they want, and I'm not
yeah.
booking in the States, and why doesn't America want
I
me?
remember you saying that you're like it was actually harder in the U.S. to like get jobs than it is now in England, which I find interesting. I always thought when I wanted to be in the entertainment industry and sing. I always thought I could never do that in the United States. It's so big. That's where Hollywood and all of the other stuff is, like, only the great people go there. So there's no way I could ever be part of it. That's like my only one real self-limiting belief I used to have, but I was fine with it. I was like, maybe in Germany I could make it or something, but now thinking about it, I try not to. When I record something or think of something, I just really have fun with it and don't try to think who I'm competing against and how many people are like me
Yeah.
that are out there. I'm
Yeah.
just like, this is me, and a little
Yeah.
pinch of luck might get it to me. I'm just trying to be in this whole mindset of what's meant for you comes for you, even though it's
Yeah.
hard when you
Yeah.
don't get a lot of stuff, and then
Yeah.
you just want that to be the one because in the moment you're like,
Yeah.
that's the job I just want right now. But it's not
Yeah.
the one you.
I submitted to an agent and they got back to me and they're like, "Oh, we already have someone like you on our roster." And I was like, "Really?" Really, you do?
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
we already have someone like you on our roster. I thought that was a bit funny. But yeah, it's hard. There's still I still feel like I still have a lot to overcome, and I'm still trying to find my way and my niche. And in terms of being in the States, I don't know. I sometimes I think like, well, maybe if I moved back to America, maybe if I was actually there, I would have more access.
What's funny that you say that because everybody that's in the US is thinking the same when they don't live in LA. Oh, maybe if I
Yeah,
move to LA, that's like my
yeah,
thing. I was like, I don't really want to move at the moment, and my family, the way it is right now, it'll be a couple years, but I don't really want to move to live in LA. The only reason would be to book more jobs. But
yeah,
then, like, is it really gonna help? Like, I don't know.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I have a lot of friends who, they're when they're booking, they're recording in studio,
Yeah.
and so they have, a lot of studio visits, and I think it does help. It seems to help with the trajectory of your career because I feel like being in the studio, you have that physical presence.
Oh, I
Your
want that so
verification
bad.
is like, yeah, you met with these, with the sound engineers and you met with the casting directors and you have a name for yourself. And I feel like it's really hard for people when they can't really, place the face with a person and the
Yeah.
personality and what they're going to get. Um, and I do love doing these podcasts. It's kind of hard for me because even though I love to talk and I'm a bit of a blabbermouth, I'm also
Same.
very like I'm so shy and I'm so and because I don't get a lot of these opportunities to interface with other people as well. I kind of have puppy syndrome. I feel like whenever I start talking, I'm like, I can't stop. I can't stop. And
Oh,
in my
that's
head,
me.
I'm like, shut up, Yasmeen. Why are you talking so much,
I'm
Yasmeen?
always talking and then I was bringing up stuff and then like don't talk about like all like certain life events. And this happens even like at work. I'm like, just be cool, whatever. And then I talk and like
Yeah.
15 minutes go by. I'm like, I
Yeah,
did it
you're like,
again.
play it cool, be demure, be mysterious. No, I'm not mysterious. I give everything away.
No. Yeah. I used to be very like closing because I used to hang around like a lot of guys. I was always one of the guys. They don't really talk like deep, like it'll always be just kind of blah blah blah. And then I like started working for a company that was predominantly women there, and all of a sudden I like opened up and like this faucet just opened and it's so hard to like close it to the right amount of
I
sharing. I
know.
was like, oh no, I'm starting to overshare. Close it. Close it.
Exactly. It's so hard. It's like, nope, turn this off. Just let's end this. She's talking too much now.
Oh man, and we have been talking for a while, so if you stuck around till the very end, woo, you must kind of like us.
Yeah.
Or can relate to some of the things. So between, talking about our upbringing and moving and our background and what we want to do and that we like to sing.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
It was so much fun. We definitely have to do a part two one day when I have my new life updates. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
But you
once
made it.
yes, once again, congratulations on the award.
Thank you. Thank you so
So
much.
exciting. I'm always like so happy when I see, and I want to say consider friends because we're like a community. We're like virtual, like friends in the sense,
Absolutely.
like how they do on Facebook. Friend me,
Yeah.
and I see
Yeah.
people succeeding, and it's actually more encouraging when some people are, you can fall down that everybody else is doing something and winning and achieving and booking. I feel bad when I like posted. I had a dry spell in the
Yeah.
last few months. Like in January, I was really busy. That's when I posted that, hey, today is a really busy day. It's very unusual. And then, like, for months, it was just crickets everywhere. And then this month, I
Yeah.
booked two on camera jobs with my agent. And this was my first ones with that agent. I was on hold before and like all kinds of stuff. But this was the first one where it also matched with my availability. And that I booked. And I was like, oh my God, I got two jobs in 1 month. I was like, oh my God, gotta hold
Yeah.
on to it because I'm gonna get freaking depressed again when nothing happens.
I know. I know. There's always that like when the job is over, that deficit. Oh my gosh, when you're like, okay, now what? Now what is the
And it
next
was
one?
so much fun. Oh my God, I want to do it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. The highs and the lows. Oh my gosh.
You gotta be really strong to be in
Definitely.
this field, and we all
Yeah.
feel like we're not, and we don't know if we're doing it right, and we're all just. When they say it's a journey and it's a marathon and not a sprint, and you gotta climb the mountain, and then, I mean, you're never gonna reach a peak because it's always something, but you have to
Yeah.
really enjoy the journey, and it's hard
Yeah.
not to rush and be like, I want to like just this one thing just to finally be there. It's
Yeah.
hard to accept that it's part of the journey because there's just so many people and you're just weeding yourself through the jungle.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
together we are
But
strong.
what I love about VO though is the personal journey that each person goes on and how, you know, you find yourself on this way because you're forced to go through those things. You're forced to,
Yeah.
you know, endure and you're forced to kind of get over yourself and not take everything personally. And so it does help
Hmm.
build up your self-esteem because if you're not if you're not strong, it could crush you, you
Yeah.
know, the rejection or, you know, not booking, not working for, you know, a couple of weeks to, you know, a month at a time. And so, it does help to like fortify you, make you stronger, and make you believe in yourself. Because
Yeah.
if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to make it. And so, the thing that I love the most about this is the fact that it has made me a much stronger person than I was coming into it because you face that adversity, but it's in a good way. You know
Yes.
that you are slowly, like you said, climbing and building towards something that is tangible. I can see incrementally the improvements that I've made from last year or
You have to
from 2 years
reflect on
ago or
that
from when I
sense,
first started.
definitely. If you don't reflect,
Yes.
you don't see it. Like I keep in my Excel sheet, there's one called monthly achievements. Every little thing I do, if it's just reaching out somewhere, how many auditions I did, and where however I grow, then listening back. Like if you don't do it, it sometimes can seem like, and
Yeah.
stagnation is a thing. Like it
Yeah.
happens. It happens with any habit. It happens with weight loss. It happens everywhere. And just going through a stagnant period. I've seen this picture of like climbing, and then all of a sudden there's just like this, and then
A
the
shelf.
mountain starts, yeah, back up
Yeah.
over here, so you first have to
Yeah.
like walk back to continue climbing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's definitely hard. Like when you and I were talking off record earlier, like you start thinking you want to do one thing, and I still love to be in anime, but I'm seeing, okay, this Texas, and they're looking for different voices, and then I figured out, oh my God, I think video game is like the one thing I could really be good at. So the German and the military and bringing it in. So as you find yourself, what you said, that's part of that journey. Find who you are, who you're with, who do you click with, and
Yeah.
and and that's that's what really helps and makes it. Like I used to be really confident, but also kind of a pushover at the same time. When I joined the military, it really toughened me up.
Yeah.
But this is a whole nother journey, that finding yourself. It's so wonderful. So sticking it through is definitely worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the best part of all of it, of course, is the community and the support
Yes.
because when you're working on your own as it is, you know, it's very easy to get into that sense of like, this is only happening to me and I'm the only one who's, you know, experiencing this, or what is the rest of the world doing? And so being able to touch base with each other and to really kind of like, okay, so this is normal, you know, this is okay. And then
And
I can get
especially
through
no one
this,
in
you
your,
know.
your personal life like knows what it feels like. You
Yeah.
can talk about it
Yeah.
and they get a sense of your ups and downs and your moods, but they just won't really understand. So it's good to have a mixture of friends that understand what you go through, and then a mixture of friends that are not in the industry to really disconnect from some of it. So I
Yeah.
think that is really helpful
Yeah,
to
for
strike that
sure.
balance.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'd just be divas. We'd be like, my voice. Oh, no.
What are
My
you
voice is
talking
money.
about? I am a
Yeah.
diva. I always have bad hair days. I mean, every time I make a video, I'm like, I
Yeah.
like my video, so I'm not gonna redo it, but my hair is just always a
You
mess.
know what? We didn't get to talk about hair. I mean, okay, FYI, I'm a hijabi, but we didn't get to talk about mixed girl hair. But yeah, my hair is the same. It's got a mind of its own. It doesn't know if it wants to be curly, it doesn't know if it wants to be straight. It's some weird in between. It's like if I do have a good hair day, I can never replicate it. I'm like, I don't know what magical things came together to make it do that, but I can't get it to do it again.
Yes.
Um, so yeah,
Like
totally
I
relate.
love going to the dry bar, like the salon is like a chain, and whenever they do my hair, it always like lasts for almost like a week, and my hair never has flyaways or anything. It's always like really nice, but no matter what I put in my hair, I always have flyaways, always have baby hairs, and all
Yeah.
of this like I have like Japanese hair straightening, but it's like for some reason the solution is like now not as potent as it used to be anymore, and now it's like wavy, which it's cool. It's like a beach wave, but my hair is growing in, so then I have the like mixed girl
The
weirdness going on.
girls.
It's
Yeah.
a mess.
Love it. Love it.
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for coming on and spending
Thank
this
you
morning
too,
with me
Jess.
and letting me like get all my energy out in the morning.
I
And
should have
maybe
done the standing. Are you standing? Did you stand through it
I
for this
am
whole thing?
standing.
Oh my gosh. I'm so lazy. I'm supposed to be doing keto. Here I am sitting on my butt for this whole interview. I should have been standing.
Well, you know what helps? This is what I do in the car. I like sit and then you listen to music and then you like squeeze butt cheeks with the beat. And then you gotta tighten the cord and squeeze your butt
Oh
cheeks. And I'm like, this 2 hour drive is intense.
my gosh. I love it. Oh my goodness. I gotta incorporate that somewhere in my day.
Yeah, I forgot what it's called. It actually has a name. I can't
Like
think
butt
of it.
kegels.
When you do like minimal movements while sitting, it's like a weird acronym that it is, but it's more effective than some of the active movements if you incorporate it into your day.
Okay. Okay.
So
Here I
it helps.
was. I was planning on putting some weights in a backpack and like for my next school run when I go to get the kids from school. I'm like, I need to up my walking somehow. Like I don't drive, so I walk and run everywhere. And I run because I'm always running late. I'm always like finishing up an audition, submitting it at the last minute, and then I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta get my kids. So I'm always like flying. And I'm like, why aren't I shedding more weight? So I need to like, yeah.
That'll be fun. Keep me posted on how that's
I
working. Putting
will.
bricks in your backpack and then just.
I will. Seriously. All right,
Well,
Jessica.
thank you, and thank you for everyone listening. Well, thank you for listening personally, and see you next time. Another episode of German Chocolate: Life of a Mixed Girl. Bye.
Bye.